Do you think I'm a bad person for telling my son I will never tell him who his biological father is? I, 38, female, had a particularly bad argument with my oldest son, 20, male, last night. My husband, 41, male, is my oldest son's stepfather and has been in his life since my oldest was 4 and has been married to me since my son was 7. We also have another son, 6M, and I'm currently pregnant. My husband and oldest son have a close, loving relationship, and probably have had one of the smoothest stepfather/stepson relationships around. That said, my son has always been curious about his biological father, which I understand, but usually has kept that curiosity to the occasional question that I nip in the bud, then no further questions for a long time. Recently, my son has been asking me more about who his biological father is, whom he occasionally just refers to as his father, which I and my husband have found hurtful, though he says he doesn't mean that he doesn't think of my husband as his dad when he says that. He hasn't dropped the issue. I don't ever want to tell my son who his biological father is because he was conceived via SA, and I know that knowing this would be immensely hurtful to my son. He is sadly quite similar to me in that he is more than happy to blame himself for things, and I do not want him to feel bad about this in any way. I don't even know anything about the attacker either, so it isn't even like my son would get any practical information/medical history details from knowing any of this either. I've told my son that I adore him and I'm happy he's my son and in my life, but I have no interest in elaborating on who his biological father is. Anyway, last night my son and I had quite a bad argument, and I told him during it that I would never, ever tell him who his biological father is or anything about him. This ended the argument, and while I've apologized to my son for being harsh, he still is upset that I said this, but I stand by it. I just don't know what to do or if this decision is even right. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Why do you think your son would hate himself? He didn't do anything wrong. He was conceived through violence, which is awful but not a reason to hate himself. Self-hate might be his initial emotional reaction, but based on the type of relationship you guys seem to have, you can probably help him move past those feelings. Helping him through this will probably be more difficult if he finds out from someone else what happened. It seems to me it would suck more for him to somehow contact that man, form a relationship or something with him, and then find out what kind of person he is. I like the suggestion of telling him with the help of a therapist or trusted outsider, someone with no skin in the game besides being there for you guys, because this is an extremely difficult conversation, to have both your backs. Original poster's reply. He has a lot of mental health struggles, as do I and as does my husband, but we're thankfully far better equipped to deal with them now than we were when we were his age, and in part, those lead to him taking every opportunity to blame himself and hate himself for things, even ones beyond his control. I know that no matter how much I love him and show it, he's going to feel horrific about himself, and I don't want that. But yes, telling him will require an excellent therapist. His therapist is helping him a lot, but I think this is still too much for him to handle in a healthy, safe way right now. We need to find a family therapist who will be exceptional for him to not take this the way I'm certain he will at this point. Commenter 2. Softita. I understand why you don't want to tell him, but he's not a child anymore. He needs to know why you won't tell him who his biological father is, at the very least. You said in a comment you're afraid of it going badly, but it's already going badly. You're at each other's throats and he feels deceived. Have a frank, honest conversation with the grown man who is your son. If he finds out another way without your input, he'll feel even worse. If he doesn't find another way, he will always know you're keeping this from him, and that in itself will damage your relationship. Either way, it's going to hurt. Telling him stops him from having a pain that is entirely preventable and may irreparably damage your relationship. It's the lesser of two evils. ETA, and, worst case scenario, he does find his sperm donor without your input and your sperm donor spins a yarn about you taking him away, painting you as the evil one. Don't take the chance. Your relationship with him is too important for that. Original poster's reply. It isn't going anywhere near as badly as I fear telling him will go. He blames himself for things to a truly damaging degree, and I fear that no matter how much I tell and show him that I adore him and want him, he's going to come away thinking about the violent nature of his conception and blame himself for anything he can with that. I suppose it's not like I can prevent him from knowing things with DNA testing things though. I just feel scared that this is going to go wrong. I'd so much rather he resent me than himself. If you would like to watch more videos like this one, click on the channel.